Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market, that is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to hopefully make some, or ideally a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today, we have NVIDIA beating earnings with $46.7 billion of revenue, but shares falling after hours trading. Sol is also up, outperforming the majors, up 6%. We've got a variety of things to dive in there on the technical side, as well as the more corporate demand side. Brett will be breaking that down shortly. It's up past $210. And former Polymarket and Kalshi team raised $15 million to build on-chain permissionless and regulated prediction markets. Got some curious questions there on what permissionless and regulated can mean at the same time. So looking forward to that interesting conversation. We'll also be talking the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual. So stay tuned for that. Delighted to say I've got Brett Guy in the co-host seat with me today. We're ready to get into it, but just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice, because this market is very, very risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Brett, it's Thursday. It's the 28th of August. How are you doing, Mama?
It is Thursday. You haven't said that in a year to me.
What was the previous schedule you're on now? You're obviously Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually.
Did we do that whenever I started traveling?
When you were traveling? I think you did. It was still Monday, Wednesday, Friday, no?
Yeah, I think it was when.
But there was a time when the schedule was different.
Yeah, and I think that was
every day as well. No.
Yeah, that was whenever things were normal. You know, I was living in the Midwest. Like, just like it was part of my routine, just wake up and do this stuff.
Okay.
And that was every day. And I think I was listening every day at least. Now it's tougher. Like, I get the hour back if I'm not here.
Yeah. Interesting.
But things are good. Like the highlight of my day right now is I get my Pixel 10 Pro today. I pre-ordered it, so it shows up today.
Explain to the audience why you're a Google guy. We didn't get you telling me this after the show yesterday. I didn't get a chance to ask. A lot of people leaning Apple. You're a Google guy though. What's with that?
I think it's just like I used to jailbreak stuff back in the day. I used to have iPhones. Like when they first came out, I'd jailbreak them and I'd do all this stuff. So then like it got annoying after a while because I'd spend all the time jailbreaking them, and then it'd be like, I don't know, I would like at 3 months after I do that, or a year after I do it, I would have to like update them or something would happen and it would like fuck up the entire phone, or I'd have to like reverse engineer how the hell I got it to the state that it was to even like be able to apply the updates or like do anything, or I had to sell it or something. And it sucked, frankly. So I like, okay, I want a phone that just lets me do like customize shit. Like I don't like, that's all I want. Like let me change the logos, let me do like whatever. So like Android let me do a little bit of that. I don't even do that much now. So like actually I'd probably be pretty fine in the Apple eco, but now I'm too far in now. Everything I got is Apple or is Google. My Google phone, I got my Google earbuds, I got my Google Nest like home setup. Everything's Google.
You're locked in.
Like easier. Yeah, I'm locked in.
Chromecast. Talking of customization, Brett. English says in the comments, B is freshly shaven. Brett is growing the goatee. You guys are always keeping us on our toes.
This is
customization here as well. What do you think
this
about
is the longest I've ever had it. I hate it. I was actually, my plan was to wake up early and shave this morning. Because I did it because obviously we went camping and the girlfriend said she liked it. So I was like, okay, I'll give you like a week. I'll let you see what it looks like. Because you and I are the same, where we can't grow any of this stuff. Like, yeah. This is max me. This is all you're getting out of someone my age. I don't like it. So it's probably gonna be gone next time you guys see me.
I was just laughing yesterday. Like, I don't know what the probability chances of three guys being just so like oddly similar in like random ways, but like me, you, and Legendary.
Yeah.
Just like, it's just weird. Like why are none of us able to do that? Why does our hair, I mean, when you're not wearing your cap, like all of our hair is like the same. Yeah. It's even going in the same direction. And we're all the same height as well, which is kind of hilarious.
B-Check is who I would be if I grew up in London, basically. Like identically.
Yeah, we're all just
you bring up the paint palette to like change my skin tone a little bit. Same thing with Legendary. You wipe me out a little bit, send me to Austria, boom, I am Legendary.
We cover all the emoji varieties.
Yeah,
same person, different emoji colors.
Same level of tism for like half the shit.
Indeed. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Anything else otherwise? I mean, what else are you
No, just the
dodging?
general laughs that like I almost left you hanging again. You called me in to pull the the Thursday help in. You thought you were gonna have to run this thing solo. Were you scared for a sec?
Yeah, you had me there. I was on the verge of getting funky on the emergency call,
Yeah,
on the emergency
yeah.
ringer.
Outside of
To
the
get
routine, so my alarm was not uh hitting as hard.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, we appreciate you joining on an additional Thursday for sure. So
I love it.
let's get into it. Let's get into the usual stuff. We've got some interesting headlines, and I got some fresh ideas today because I've been listening to some pods, and some were persuasive to me. So I want to share those with you in a bit too.
Mm,
Let's
okay.
get into the price action as usual first, though, to get you up to speed with everything that you need to know. We've got Bitcoin up 1% to $113,000. We've got ETH um, back at 4.6. For some reason, Bitcoin at 113 made me feel way better today. I don't know why. I just liked it a lot more than 112. I have no idea why specifically. XRP is back at $3. BNB is up 1% to $869. Solana is up 4 to 213. It was up as much as 6 earlier, but definitely making a bit of a move here against the other stuff. Solana's up 14.5% on the week, whereas ETH is up 7, XRP is up 3, Bitcoin's flat on the week. So
I saw a
seems like we're
lovely. No, go ahead, finish your thought, and then I got something.
feels like we're rotating down the majors, right? Like we're just gonna. It's like right. It's ETH's turn now. Now it's Sol's turn now. Then it's gonna be
You
the
know what?
next. No, is
Yeah.
that
You know what's
what's
hilarious
going on?
is like everyone was doing the like this time it's different shit. There's like, oh, first Bitcoin runs, and then Ethereum runs, and then all the altcoins run. And we spent so much time because all our because Solana was the one that was doing really well for a long time. That like everyone's like, it's different. It's totally different. We're gonna skip that. We're gonna go like whatever. But like, had you as a professional crypto trader just like done that like the playbook that has, like everyone has the pictures and the images for from the last like
Yeah,
8 years of this shit. Or it's like you have Bitcoin, and then
yeah,
you just okay, it's time to buy Ethereum, which was bottoming out. Ethereum fucking is running, and it's like then you just hold Ethereum for a while, and then you just do it again and rotate down to Sol or Hype or whatever. Like obviously you could have just done Hype at the beginning or some of these other coins that have done really well, fucking XRP, and like you would have done well. But like
BNB
it's
as well.
funny that the playbook worked or to this point.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but yeah, that's it. That seems to be how it's playing out at this point. Anyway, English made another good point in the comments saying that's why 113 feels much better. 112 was previous all-time high resistance, so maybe like subconsciously
Mm,
at 112,
mm.
111, you're thinking right, we're going to break down here. Whereas 113 feels a bit more comfortable that you're in that kind of 110 to 120 or 118 range or something. Okay, so that's that on the majors. Maybe just a quick note on Hyperliquid, which is actually down 2% today after its very, very big move in the
I
last
got it.
couple of
I told
days.
everyone, yeah, I told them my my Kaido play. I haven't done it yet. So like now this is good for
This
me,
would be a good
assuming
time, right?
Kaido hasn't dropped the same amount.
Yes, that would be a good time for you then, if
Yeah, I need to
that's
check
the
this out.
transition you want to make. Sui is also up 1% to $3.50. On the meme coin side of things, let's take a look there. We've got Doge up 1%. We have Pengu down 1%, Trump up 1%, SPX up 1%, Fartcoin up 3%, WIF is up 1%. Not actually very big moves here. It feels very muted. Rect is actually down 7, so that's actually a big move down for Rect. Mog is down 4% as well, so slightly bigger moves
15 on
down.
the what is that though? Is that the week or the
Yeah,
rect?
down 15% on the week. Whereas I think the majority of other memes or some of the more major ones down single digits on the week, but
Pump
just kind
up
of
8%. That's another one that's in the back of my head. It's a man, if you're in this the meme is the revenue meta. If you're in the revenue meta, dude, like I think you can bag up on pump. I
oh,
and like
pump.
just and ride it. It's up 8% on the week. I think it was the week or the day. I just saw you showing it. I'll look it up.
Yeah, let's do
Um,
it here. Let's look at pump. Um,
yeah, they just did another big buyback. Obviously, they have Mike Dudas, who's a key investor who's been bull posting them pretty hard. They're basically back on the meme coin wars. Like Bonk is lucky to get 1% of the daily volume. Like they're back, right?
They did a huge buyback. Let me just
yeah, they did
show people. So Pump did, here we go. Over the past week, Pump Fund has purchased $10.6 million worth of Pump tokens, which equates to 99.32% of total revenue for that period. To date, Pump has purchased a total of $58 million worth of Pump, offsetting 4.2% of the circulating supply. So yeah, that's pretty significant, right?
It's significant, but it's inconsistent. That's the problem.
I think that's what the market is not like. It's not
Market
willing
does not
to
like uncertainty
fully to get behind it for two reasons. One, I think the buybacks are not routine and consistent and kind of reliable in that way. And then two, whilst I think they've definitely still like re-established themselves as the premier place to pump tokens or create tokens and trade them. I still think there's like a little bit of the question, right? They were going through
durability.
This ongoing battle between the Bonk one. Then there was Heaven, another DEX, another launch pad that launched just the other day, 2 days ago. I don't know if we spoke about it in the show, but the
up to 30% at one point. It is now Heaven, now down to 1.1%.
There you go. There was also the Bodogo's crew who worked with MoonPay. Shout out to Ray, who's in our chat, shared what they've been working with on them. So that's like another kind of trading platform to participate in that side of the game. So there's like incredible competition on that side, I think, live at the moment. So I do think Pump is well, but I think if you're looking for reasons why it's not just surging on the fact that it keeps making all this money and buying the token back, that I think the market just wants some certainty there, not different to anything else.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's a good shout.
But it's one of the few things you can size up, and like if you think the numbers are equivalent to what they are, and like what they can like equivalent to what they are sounds ridiculous. It's equivalent to Hyperliquid, which they are.
Yes.
And if you think they are going to lean into the buyback stuff pretty heavily, and you think it's durable, and you think maybe there's some growth there, right? That's all the stuff you're doing with Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is okay. You had 97%, now it's up to 99% going to buybacks. You had a last year of revenue generation, which is consistent, great, amazing. You're forecasting continued growth, which Hyperliquid has only grown. So like you're forecasting a lot of growth in the ownership there, but like you're paying for that, right? Like Hyperliquid's, depending on how you calculate the actual FTV or the market cap, there's some debate on that right now, between like 30 and 40 something billion, right? So
can I ask you about this though? So this was actually going to be in a later topic on Solana itself, but I guess it's relevant to Pump. There was a couple of charts shared yesterday. I'm showing it on the screen now about
the research circles roughly like laughed their face off with this.
Like, what was wrong with this? This is something, I'll set the scene, then you maybe tell us why it's not okay. There was this chart being shared yesterday that we used to have 10 months ago on Solana 8 million unique traders, whereas now we have just 1.08 million. And there's this chart kind of showing this humongous cliff. But that's why it's good to bring it up, because it did do some numbers, I think. And so, like, do you think this is accurate, not accurate? What's wrong with this data?
Well, it's just that it doesn't matter. This is very close to what I was making fun of or like pushing back on with the Project X stuff, where they're like, oh, TVL doing crazy numbers. Like, yeah, in 2021, that would have been a huge thing, and we all would have like freaked out about it. The same thing here. Active addresses today, and especially on a fast and cheap chain, active addresses means fuck all, right? Like, I think we all understand that, right? They are not indicative of real humans. The ability for someone to, in an automated fashion, spin up a shit ton of these things and then like close them down, no longer use them, is incredibly simple. Incredibly, like it's all automated. So like everyone who is respected in the research and or analytics industry and for crypto or sector looked at this and said, this is just dumb, because
Sure.
you should look at harder metrics. You should look at like DEX activity. You should look at like the total amount of like fees paid. You should look at things that are a little more durable and not as in the pan. It's like this is like looking at follower count and going, oh my God,
Yeah.
oh my God, you've lost your from followers. And you're like, well, yeah, well, the dude had 20,000 bots. So like, who gives a shit, right?
Yes.
So that like, that's all this is. So that like that, yeah, that largely no one gives it any credit. And then the other metrics they looked at said like, yeah, like all the signs are still there that it's a healthy ecosystem, and actual amounts of trades, feeds paid, like all that stuff is either flat or trending up. So
perfect. I think that's a beautiful way to analyze something that was doing the rounds yesterday. So put the data out there and critique it in the correct way. So I think that's very helpful. It makes sense to me. A lot of the metrics, not just active wallets, maybe TV, like a lot of metrics that come out in general, we've got to start being a bit more discerning about what we think to be useful and meaningful.
The second something becomes a target, it is no longer a useful metric. And like this is like maybe not something that's a
gaming
target,
it and
because
inflating
people start gaming it. Right.
Yeah.
If you talk about any of these meme coins, and like you have to like accept the reality that the majority of the activity taking place today on Solana is a lot of traders and meme coin activity. There's so much money that is taking place in that arena, and because of that, there is incentive to game basically every single metric that is associated to tokens. So it's holder count. It's like, you know, making sure that I as a trader am obfuscating my position. So I'm spinning up additional wallets just so I can, you know, play games, bouncing my stuff around, because, you know, like pump bot, KOL scan, right? So it's like,
Yes.
and there's bubble maps, and there's like, there's so much shit associated with these tokens that, like, you know, I heard someone on Spaces talking about it yesterday, like the layered game that you have to play as a trader to either obfuscate your stuff or to identify like what is bullish about a token is ridiculous. Like there's so many levels to the game. That like, yeah, every one of those things, because I can hear these people are aware of this stuff and they're talking about it, means that people are on the other side that are aware of that, them looking at those metrics and trying to game them, right? Yeah. Oh, tokens are bullish if it has a strong holder count, and you see how they're actually purchasing, and if this group of people that bought earlier are doing like all of that shit, that people are aware of it and they're going to game it because they know other people are looking at it. Simple as.
Okay, so I think that's super helpful. Just wanted to, as we conclude this topic, one more anecdotal point. Ninja3 in the comments on Twitter said, I can tell you as someone that trades on chain every day, it is way down though. Solana, ETH, and L2s. And I do think anecdotally as well, like, look, when we thought there was significant opportunity in that specific arena, we would be there. We are not there anymore. So like there is, I think, some precedent to say there is not the activity there from, you know, earlier in the year, the back end of last year. However, that doesn't mean that that specific metric where it's saying like there's 7 million less people is accurate either. That's why I just love following the money. Just track the money. Like, okay, they're making this much money. How much were they making before? Are they on a nice trajectory? Track money, because money is real risk that people are putting down. That's why we love revenue, which I think crypto space is just discovered now as a cool thing to be able to follow. So follow the money is my take there.
Yeah, I'll even, and like, you know, I appreciate some anecdotal evidence of people that like the vibes are down, but like I just put the dashboard in chat for you. Like if you look at the weekly trend of application revenue, of transaction count, like raw transaction count, if you look at compute usage, which is basically gas spent on the chain, all of that stuff for the last year is basically flat or like slightly up in some categories. Hit the W on each of these, right? So just these top four, right? Hit the little W in the top right. So this is the weekly chart for all of these things. This is application revenue, bottom left. This is application revenue by sector, bottom right. So look, like, oh, like, yeah, that's sure. It's like trending sideways. It's actually even on the uptrend on a few of these things. Like, no, like everything that matters is actually pretty good.
Yeah. So it looks like to me very healthy compared to the last few months. But obviously, I guess in people's minds, what I'm comparing it to is the mania period, which was, you can see huge spikes in the back end of last year into the beginning.
It's more drastic.
So yeah, it's not in line with that, but certainly not bad. From what it's like, it's not continuously declining, is your point, which I think is really good to see. That's super helpful. Again, Blockworks data doing some good work here. Thanks for sharing that. We should put this in our chat somewhere helpful in the information section. We will do that. Good stuff. Interesting initial discussion there. I did want to talk about Pump today because Solana has been moving, so we'll talk more specifically about Solana in a moment. Let's get into so we talked meme coin, what was going on in the memes, getting into the headlines, which we will get to in a moment. Just a reminder, we got NVIDIA beating earnings, but shares falling in after hours trading. We had Sol outperforming majors up 6% to $214. And we got the former Polymarket and Kalshi team raising $15 million to build on-chain, permissionless, and regulated prediction markets. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. Some notable price action. Plasma's XPR price in Hyperliquid pre-markets rises to about 0.75. That's 7.5 billion FDV. This move doesn't seem, well, it's hard to know precisely, but it's certainly not the kind of aggressive wick up, liquidating all shorts immediately and then selling off immediately. It's like a bit more of a, I don't know how you'd call it. I don't necessarily even want to call it organic now because it's hard to know. But it's certainly not like a scam wick and then down again. So let's see how we monitor that. Got Kronos up 55% after Trump Media announced a digital asset treasury company. You've got Camp L1 launching at 900 mil FDV. Some notable NFT sales. This ACK Broken Keys, I really like ACK, sold for 165,000 ETH. That is pretty significant. And a notable other one on the NFT side, Moonbirds had a big seller yesterday listing all 40 of their NFTs. Apparently they bought them really cheap in the bear market, sold them all yesterday, and the whole supply got taken. So back to a 3.16 ETH floor on that side. Getting into the other news, you've got Metaplanet shares rising 6% on international stock sale by issuing 555 million new shares, targeting around a raise of 880 million, mainly for Bitcoin purchases. Jupiter Lend has been built with Fluid, which is going to launch with $2 million worth of incentives. I really want to check that out, actually. I want to see how juicy the incentives are, but I'm not sure how much capital I've got left on Solana, so I might need to move some stuff around to see. But I really like Jupiter as a product. I think this is an excellent product, and would like to see what they've been cooking there with Fluid. Arthur Hayes Fund, Maelstrom releases Hyperliquid prediction of 126x upside. I don't know if you saw that, Brad, and what you made of the 126x upside prediction for Hyperliquid. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of growth pushing that. I shared that in the chat yesterday. Of like, people were talking like, okay, like, you know, how much growth are we expecting? You buying hype because expecting it 2x? It's like, no, we're going 126x. Hoping to hit it by next week. Yeah, like it's the same. Like in my mind, yeah, like sure, like Hyperliquid like takes over the entire world. Like sure, okay, whatever. In my mind, in any short, medium time horizon, that's like the same thing as calling for 100K Ethereum. Which is like you got to throw some pole moving numbers out there to really get the people going.
Yeah, you got to get the people going, and I think that did. In other news, OpenSea announces on-chain Copilot. Developers can apply for beta access today. You got Myriad Markets on the prediction side hitting $10 million of trade volume as prediction market hype continues. Pudgy Penguins reveal a whole series of comics in the works to be released later this year. I thought that was pretty cool. And Sandbox cuts 50% of staff. Animoca's Robbie Young takes the CEO role. Remember, Sandbox was a very celebrated project back in 2021. It's been existing for a long time after the kind of metaverse land universe project, which has really struggled after that mania in 2021. So sad to see that kind of go through a little bit of a transition here, but probably important from a business perspective. That is that, Brad. Before we get into the main headlines today, which are kind of an interesting mix, a bit of traditional stocks, a bit of Solana outperformance, a bit of prediction market stuff. Is there anything else catching your attention, either from the Roundup or elsewhere?
No, I'm in the chat talk. We're doing the retro on Pump. I'm actually excited to expand a little bit more on like the Solana stuff and stuff in our headlines. So ready to go into it.
Let's do it. Let's do it then. So starting with the first headline of the day, this is the news that just going to share my screen for people who are watching in. We did have a computer chip designer, NVIDIA, doing very well yesterday. On Wednesday, it reported $46.7 billion of revenue for the second 3 months of the year, a 56% surge from the same period in 2024. Although it's still noted, one of the interesting aspects is that it is continuing to work through geopolitical issues, right? Because it's caught in the middle of this trade war between US and China. Remember yesterday, Brett, I was telling you that in one of these articles, hitting one of the offhand comments from Trump has been that, like, look, if you are going to sell this stuff to China, which we're, the government is seeing AI as a very strategic sector, and so these chips are incredibly important for the US's development and supremacy in that sector. So therefore, you don't necessarily want the best things getting over to China. Trump said that maybe we need a slice of that revenue. Give us a little slice of that revenue. Trump's just a deal maker, isn't he? Just wants to get a slice of all the business.
He's a thing sayer for sure. He says a lot of things.
He does. And just seeing whether you can say things to manifest them into reality. Like, I don't know, say we want 10%. Can we get it? Is anyone going to give
I'm
it
a believer of, yeah,
Maybe.
you move say the outrageous thing. It was 30% tariffs on everyone. That's like, yeah, okay, maybe 5%.
Maybe someone will do it. Yeah, maybe someone will say, okay. So NVIDIA did well. But the market didn't necessarily. I think there was a bit of a rally initially in crypto. It kind of got muted. S&P is looking fairly solid here. It's basically flat on the day. On the week, it's up a couple of percent or so. So in the end, I don't think it really had as much of an impact as anyone might have thought. The thing that I've been thinking more from a macro perspective, Brad, is two things. One, obviously we're thinking about, actually, how many things? Three things. Rate cuts is, still top of the agenda. We spoke about how Trump removed one of the governors of the board, which in order to, I guess, put his person in at some point in time so that it will be easier to push these rate cuts through at whatever next FOMC meeting when that comes. So for a smoother process for him to be more influential in that arena. So you've got that. You've also, that I feel is something that's spoken about more. I think it does need to get priced in still. I feel like we ran way too hot for a little bit, getting ahead of ourselves. But I think once we actually enter into that more routine easing cycle, I think that will be increasingly priced in, which will be bullish. But I think there's a couple of other things which people are maybe underpricing. I think rate cuts people are talking about a lot. But I actually think the war with Ukraine is, I feel like, because it's been going on for so long, I feel like people are just kind of okay, well, we're just in this constant, endless cycle of it not being resolved. And I think more than ever now, after monitoring it for a while, and not that I'm a geopolitical expert by any means, I'm just getting a sense that, okay, this has not been resolved for a long time, but I feel like it's something which is getting more likely to be resolved. There was a point in time where Zelensky came to the White House, and that meeting did not go well. It ended in a bit of a disaster. People were calling each other names, getting annoyed at each other, and you were never further away from a resolution at that point in time. Now he's come, things were civil, things were much more productive. Trump's been speaking to Putin. I feel like wheels are moving, and look, maybe that's always the case. All I'm saying is the likelihood is greater than before. And when I'm thinking probabilities, that's how I'm thinking. And then the third thing, which I thought was quite persuasive, something I just haven't been thinking about necessarily, was how we're kind of entrenched in this idea that we're in a trade war with China, which I think that is happening, right? It's clearly this lockstep. I wouldn't necessarily call it a battle, but it's kind of this entrenched positions where we want them to pay tariffs, and I mean they're already paying tariffs, but there's clearly conflict here. And I just wonder whether, as we move towards some resolutions on the other stuff, maybe we can see some resolution there too, at some point in time, sooner rather than later. And I haven't thought about this one as deeply, but someone put it on my radar as like, oh, what if? Because I think part of what we do as investors is invest with some imagination is what I've like to think about now. And I was like, what if that? What would it look like if these two people, and Trump's historically been reasonably good at dealing with like strong leaders and finding ways to find a deal. It's like, okay, well, what would it do to the markets if some kind of corporate arrangement was reached with China? And I just hadn't really been asking myself that question, so I just wanted to put that on people's radar. I know it's not, the political side is not your keenest topic, Brad, but what do you think about that? Investing with some imagination in that way. I'm trying to just put some probabilities to this. What do you think?
I mean, everything's dictated by catalyst events. So trying to think up what catalyst events could or could not play out in the future is always good. Though, like as you describe that stuff, it makes me think of they're both wars of attrition. So it's like, after a while, you kind of lose your vigor to like fight the fight on whatever it is. So whether it's like Ukraine holding on to a few cities at its perimeter to like or it's like maybe after doing this for 4 years, they're like, all right, fuck it, just take the city. I just want to be done with this thing. And it's like, okay, take it, and then war ends. It's like that's always a possibility. But yeah, you're right. Like that's not my arena. I think for me, like there's too many chess pieces to consider to be able to accurately try to forecast any of that stuff that I haven't been playing that game. It's like I don't have the pieces to even be able to speculate. Whereas like, inside the crypto arena, I feel well equipped to think on stuff. So for me, it's just if things are going to go bad, like all the things that you just talked about are going to affect all sectors. And at that point, you just kind of like hold your stuff and go for the ride.
Indeed. Okay. So that's it for me on that side. Just wanted to put some of those ideas out there without me being too expert in them or concrete, but just I think sometimes some imagination is important when you get super entrenched, when things become like super normal and you just think, okay, well, we're in conflict with all these people, and you stop even thinking about it because it's just something that's always the case.
Normalized.
It's like, hang on a sec, what if? And you start to like turn off your brain to the possibility that these things might actually shift at some point. So I just want to put that on people's agenda, but let's keep it moving then. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about on Solana. Solana obviously outperforming today, up 6% to over $210. And looking at this from a few perspectives, Brad, we've got some technical upgrades. We've got some activity upgrades, and also maybe just from the DAT perspective, thinking about what kind of demand's being generated there. What do we need to know here?
Yeah, this one's broad. So, I mean, the headline itself is just Sol outperforms majors by 6% and is up to 214. Some of the things underpinning that, I don't think it actually has any impact like the first one, but like Solana's Alpenglow voting process or voting phase, I should say. This one, like highest level, is just Alpenglow was a new consensus proposed by Anza. What all that means to humans is that like every chain has basically a few pieces of code that like dictate what the chain is. They're called clients, right? It's the software that's actually running on top of the machine that is the node of the software, right? And you can have a couple of versions of that. Ethereum has like 7 different versions of like the same code or same logic rewritten by a bunch of different code, so that like if a message is processed by all 7 of these different code bases and it all turns out to be the same thing, you can verify that like, oh, okay, cool, like it was valid, right? It meets the conditions to be added to the Ethereum blockchain. There's no issues. Solana has one, which is like they have a primary one that's like the largest majority of their actual software. It dictates how fast it is, how efficient it is, how it processes logic, whatever. Alpenglow is a new instance of that, which was proposed by Anza, one of the client teams, one of the teams behind the code base. And the reason it is something that is notable is because they have done a lot of things to change how the chain actually works to make it more efficient, faster, bigger, whatever. It is very close to, you guys might remember, Fire Dancer, something that's been talked about in Solana for a very long time, where it's just like Fire Dancer's coming, and whenever it comes, Solana will hit a gajillion, gorillion TPS, like all this shit, right? So this has actually caused conflict with that, because Anza, which was the team that had the software that was already live, it is live for the longest time, they said they revealed this huge change to all of the code and said, or the logic, I should say, because it's a consensus change, and said, hey, this thing's coming by the end of year. Like, get ready for it. It's going to make us big and bad and awesome, right? Awesome, cool. Fire Dancer is the other team that was trying to build also big, fast, cool, and said, well, fuck, that changes everything that we were just trying to build towards. So now it delays us, right? We have to now rewrite the code for the logic that is now different than the logic we were trying to write for. It's been a little bit of a mess. So people are sitting here debating of like, okay, cool, this thing's coming, voting on it actually taking place. I actually saw the head of research at Anza, or the chief curmudgeon, as his bio says, kind of saying that this is actually kind of a fugazi vote. Like, this thing doesn't even make any sense, and it doesn't practically mean anything. But then you have Tolly on the other side who's said vote for it, it's good. So whatever, but that's just what it is. They revealed it. There's going to be some conversation around it.
So the net effect is this is a move to speed up.
Yes, it's a net effect to change the logic of the chain. The consensus specifically is the thing that gets the overhaul. So like, we're going to get super technical here, but like, some of the nuances of Solana is that the voting transactions are like the things that the nodes use to communicate, to say, hey, this is the next block and it's valid, right? Like all these nodes have to communicate to each other. Those are actual transactions on Solana. So like on that dashboard I just sent you, if you do a toggle, you can see voting and non-voting transactions. So like a vote transaction is something that doesn't have anything to do with the chain whatsoever. Like the validators have to pay money to send these messages to each other, but like it's not a trade. It's not a swap. It's not an NFT mint. It's not anything else. It's literally just the network talking to itself. And they've been getting dunked on because that conflates it. But like one of the big changes is that like, okay, in this next move, those things are no longer on chain. Like they can communicate to each other off chain and it's fine. It like reduces the noise of the network itself. So stuff like that, or like reducing whatever. Anyways, it's a vote for that, to like talk about it more.
Got it. So that's helpful on the technical side. Again, I don't think that's necessarily driving price action, as you said as well, but I think it's interesting to keep up to speed with what's going on the technical side.
Yes. One of the interesting things is the DATs. Yeah.
The DATs. So what's your, we did speak about the DATs the other day, both as a general perspective and specifically some of the issues with the Sol DATs. But do you want to go into that and kind of speak about them from the demand side, but also maybe some of the challenges?
Yeah. Okay. So like, I'll start from zero, just assuming there's people in the crowd that weren't here for the previous conversation. So DATs are digital asset treasuries. Again, you buy $1 of Solana, you go to the public market with a company and say, hey, we are a company that has $1 of Solana, buy $1 of our stock. And then you have this arbitrage opportunity that is then created. MNAV is the market cap to native asset value, which is like the difference between the stock offering price and the value of the underlying assets that are held by the thing, right? So you're seeing this with SharpLink, you're seeing this with everyone else, but like Jack Mullers was just talking about his partnership with Tether to do the Bitcoin one, right? They're companies that are buying digital assets in various forms and then going public so that pool of capital then has access to it. The nuance with Solana DATs is that a lot of them, or the conversation around them, is that the tokens that they are acquiring from the ecosystem are not just like from the market, right? SharpLink is going, hey, we just got $200 million. We're going to buy spot 200 million. You're going to see it on chain. You just transfer it to Kraken and like you're going to report on whatever. What's happening with Solana DATs is there are a lot of tokens.
Some Solana DATs, not all.
Yeah. Sorry. Some of these Solana DATs, what's happening is the tokens acquired are actually locked investor tokens, right? Some of these tokens have been acquired over the previous years, whether it's through FTX or whatever. That's just like, these are things that previously had a 5, 10, whatever year lockup. And there's like, I'm just selling these people to get liquidity on it. And the DATs themselves are now selling them to the market technically, right? Like they don't actually get sold. The tokens are in the possession of the companies. But because the company has a public offering and their entire value prop is that they have tokens in their pockets, you're effectively getting liquidity. The companies themselves are getting liquidity on the Solana that they otherwise wouldn't have. And whether that is a concern or not, to me, it is not, because what I see here is like, look, this is someone who's looking to get out anyways, right? Like liquidity early, like maybe not as strongly, but like they saw this as an opportunity to get liquidity. But like if this is someone that was like looking to get liquidity, and the previous other option was, once the time is up there, I'm going to sell the shit out of this thing, Like that is more of a bad thing for me than, okay, they get liquidity from people who probably are less sophisticated and probably have net new time horizons that they're willing to attribute to this. DAT traders are probably less long term than, like, ETF buyers, but there's no Solana ETF right now. Jito Sol announced one. It's a staking one, but I don't think there's any formal ETFs that have been approved for Solana. Can you verify that? What's
No, did you say no formal ones have?
Yeah, no formal ones, right? Because like we've had a lot of releases or like filings to try to create one, but I don't think there's actually been any approved Solana ETFs to this point.
I think that's right.
Maybe ETPs in, like, I think Europe maybe has one, but like on the NASDAQ, I don't think there's any actual ETF vehicles, which are just like the pure play for the thing with just maybe a little bit of a fee on top.
Yeah, even here we've got Bitwise Physical Solana ETP was one of the first ones that
that's the
comes
European
up.
version.
Solana ETF rumors drive traders forward. So yeah, I mean,
so this pool of
it's gonna
capital
come,
does
right,
not
at some point.
yes.
BlackRock came out just not long ago saying they're not doing the Solana one yet. That was as recent as 2 weeks ago or something. But I guess people will still speculate that eventually it will.
Yeah, I mean, the main point is just that there's no access point for that pool of capital to get exposure to Solana except through a DAT, which is like the same logic being applied to basically all of these altcoins, right? Like I have the ability to buy an Ethereum ETF. I'm probably better off doing that instead of buying a DAT and getting murked by like the risk of the operating team, how they're going to handle their shit, if they're going to dilute me, like all that stuff. I could buy Ethereum one and then actually just convert it to an Ethereum and be about my business. Whereas there's no access point for these other assets. So it's, the people that are buying it, because ETF buyers are likely a longer term holder than a pure DAT trader.
Indeed.
There's some potential that people are acquiring these, like, claim to these tokens through these DATs that are longer term holders, net new holders. So the clock is starting at zero. Than the people that have held on to these things for years and are looking to get liquidity on them. So I personally am not too worried about it. Yeah, but that's just my own view.
Interesting. So that is the real crux of the question, isn't it? Like, to what extent is this exit liquidity? I've seen some people.
It undoubtedly is, right?
It undoubtedly is. The question is just like, okay, well, are the new buyers? Like, in some ways, it's like an OTC, where. Is it like an OTC? No, not really, because the market price. This is better than an OTC. Usually, if you're doing an OTC and Solana's just taking random numbers, something's trading at 2 billion, you do the OTC
you get a discount or something
at 1 billion, and you have to hold your tokens and you can sell them in 3 months' time. This is way better than an OTC. And that's, the argument for that is that you're transferring, you're raising the kind of initial purchase price of the token. So for the new buyers, they're buying in at 1 bill. You might have been in from 100 mil. You're up at like a 20x. You have to sell, because what person is going to hold on to a 20x? Like, you need to realize your profit. Whereas if someone's buying at 1.1 or 1.5, and then the token is actually trading at 2 by 3 months time, by the time you unlock, you might be like, no, in crypto, like I'm not going to sell for like a 10, 20, 30% rise. Like, I need to now wait. And so you're kind of making sure that those tokens which are coming to unlock have holders that have actually bought at a higher price, so that they hold for longer. Whereas if those other people had it and unlock at their price, they're going to sell immediately. And that would be the right thing to do as an investor. You're up like God knows how many hundreds of X. So that would be the thinking for it. I'm just wondering in this instance whether the buyers are, as you say, like, there is a version of this where if they're long-term aligned, then it's fine. It's kind of retail though, isn't it? So this is the thing that I query. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, that would be inferring that the buyer of the DAT is the one that dictates how the DAT handles the assets, which is not true, right?
Correct.
As the operating company of the DAT, like if we as the operating company have no need to sell the assets, right, regardless of stock price, say we make enough money or we're running lean enough that we have enough runway for 5 years, like it's just on us to hold them for that duration and keep the doors open, right? Like it's just wait out the market until Solana outperforms, right? Like that's literally it, right? And we do some games with the stock. The people buying the DAT stock and selling and trading and doing whatever have no impact on whether or not the asset company actually buys or sells.
Okay. I think I've got an interesting part here because I was reading this conversation yesterday. This is going to be helpful. I think one of the main issues then is that there's essentially no net new demand for the token. Like the whole reason why people get excited about DATs, or at least a part of it, is because it means that other people are going to be buying. Like it's meant to create new demand. But if you can put locked tokens in, that's not new demand. That's just taking off the market tokens from one place and putting it in to another place and making them liquid. And you're hoping someone buys those off market tokens. So that's not pushing the price up, is it? Because it's off the market.
Yeah.
Whereas,
but it's not pushing it up, but it's also not pushing it down, right? Whenever
correct.
the unlock comes.
I agree. So you are kind of making the purchase price shift, which is probably beneficial. So the other person's bought in higher, therefore maybe will hold for longer, whereas the other people will probably just dump as soon as they unlock. But there was this interesting conversation with Guy from Ethena yesterday on the timeline where people were asking, like, look, why is crypto Twitter both firstly upset that some Solana DATs are buying locked tokens, and two, happy that the Ethena DAT is buying locked tokens? Like, what's the double standard? I think is what people were trying to articulate. And he actually answered from his perspective. And I don't know if anyone's heard Guy speak. I'd love to get him on the show sometimes. Like hyper intelligent. Like I really, really enjoy listening to him speak about a variety of topics, how he's built Ethena and otherwise. So when he was trying to clarify, he was saying in the Solana environment, you deposit locked SOL, receive shares, and no cash hits spot bid on the markets, which is the point I was just trying to articulate. Like there's no net new demand for buying the tokens. Whereas with the Ethena ones, they sell locked ENA into the vehicle. They then raise cash and then they bid spot with 100% of the cash proceeds. So the point being that in one, there is zero new buy pressure and 100% of the raised proceeds is buy pressure in the Ethena vehicle. So I guess this type of nuance maybe requires a little bit of time to digest. And again, you need to read like all the details of how these new vehicles function in order to understand them properly. But clearly some of the DATs are structured in a way that, there's no net new demand, whereas some of them have tweaked it in a way where there is, probably requires like a further deep dive, but just, I think that's helpful to at least clarify an aspect of it. Brett, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to think about. It's just that's an objective take from Guy. I also think he's very intelligent. I don't think it like honestly matters, given the size of these things relative to their market cap. That like
Sure.
the size of these DATs is not something that's like markedly moving the token price, in my opinion. Not until you start getting levels of like Ethereum. Obviously, it's a larger asset class, so it's or larger assets, so it takes that amount to move Ethereum. But like, I don't think
Say that. But there were two. So I think in the last 3 days, there was one for 400 mil. There was one for 1 bill and one for 1.25 bill.
Which asset?
Solana. So all like it's been relentless Solana this week. So I definitely agree with you up until this point that I don't think the numbers have been like too crazy. But I think we're kind of watching the numbers and maybe you're getting into that
Which
region.
of those numbers were locked versus not?
That is the question I do not know the answer to. So again, getting into the weeds here, I think is the best way to really understand it perfectly. But at a minimum, at least we've managed to get it on your radar. And I think that's a helpful conversation to have out loud. So I hope that was interesting and insightful in some way. Getting into the final headline for today, we're running beautifully on time today, Brad, which is strange. It feels strange to be running this beautifully on time. We have the final headline, which is former Polymarket exec raises $15 million from Coinbase and USV for rival prediction platform. This is the news that Union Square Ventures led a $15 million seed round in the new prediction market platform being launched by former Polymarket and Kalshi staff. There's a few other venture funds in the round as well. Coinbase recently said it planned to expand into the space, which allows people to wager on the outcomes of specific events like elections and sporting events. The startup said in a statement that it's building a new kind of prediction market, on-chain, permissionless, and regulated. The clearing company will compete with Polymarket, the apparent leader, and Kalshi, which are, I think, the biggest two market leaders at the moment. And it's got staff at this new startup that had previously worked at Polymarket. So, Brett, I think this is very interesting. I don't know if you've noticed this big uptick in just prediction market talk on the timeline recently. People getting
Massive,
very excited about prediction markets in general. What's your take on prediction markets generally? Are they exciting you in any specific way? And then B, this part about being on-chain, permissionless, and regulated, I think that's kind of interesting. My understanding is Polymarket is completely decentralized, whereas Kalshi requires KYC and this and that. So I think that's actually a really meaningful difference when it comes to being the arbiter of truth and who might be participating in the market. So what do you think in that direction?
Yeah. So the wording used is interesting. Permissionless and regulated kind of feel like at odds with each other. So the only way I can make sense in my head is maybe the markets themselves are the regulated aspect of it, and permissionless, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's regulated from the user aspect where you have KYC, but it's permissionless market creation, or maybe it's regulated market creation but permissionless entertainment or access, that's closer to what Polymarket is doing, right? Polymarket creates all of the markets that they plan to host, and then anyone can come and just click some buttons and buy, sell, trade, whatever. But that raises a lot of eyebrows, and I have noticed the sharp uptick in conversations. In my mind, it's kind of surprising that this stuff comes so late. Like, I remember even before the election, I went to my team, I have some devs and stuff. I was like, dude, we should build a prediction market. And this was like a year before Polymarket did its thing. And even then I was like, I don't know, man, it kind of feels like late in the game. Like, Polymarket's going to have the edge. They've been established for a few years. Like, the election's coming up. They have all the connections, blah, blah, blah. And then the election hit, and then teams were like trying to spin up stuff around then. There was obviously a wave because it was popular. And even then I was like, guys, it's pretty late in the game. Like, you're about to lose the election. Like, why are you guys starting now? And now we're fucking years past that shit, and people are still like, oh, you know what? We should do a prediction market. Like, after PMF has clearly hit for the sector, this late in the game. It's crazy how long a lot of this stuff takes. And yeah, it's never too late to start this shit, I guess, is the message. But yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like wait and see. Like, I'm a leader leads kind of guy, so I'm gonna watch Polymarket. I'm gonna put an eye on Kalshi now that they're like trying to make a little harder pivot into the space. I do not care about people that are announcing that they'll do something in the future right now in a sector that has been hot for a year. It's like same thing with like announcing a launch pad right now. It's like, show me you can do something different, because it's going to be very hard for you to unseat a pump fund or a Polymarket or a whoever.
Indeed. Okay, so we like the prediction market stuff in general. We'll keep an eye on it very closely. I do actually have a hard stop today, guys. Funky, I see you with your hand raised. We're gonna have to continue the conversation tomorrow at some point. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks to Brad for co-hosting. Thanks to the guys up top on the space. Thanks to all the commentors, and thanks to you joining us as usual. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.